right. So, gang. Wow. Wow. That was the first episode. We got some thoughts. So, you guys all know me. And this is my friend Brendan. This is my other friend Tyler. And we have a really cool dynamic here. So, Tyler has actually never seen the show before.
Never played the games either.
Both, yeah. And then Brendan, we have both diehards. Yep. We were like on the couch sitting and like, oh, so is this like how the game is? Is this like how the game is? So I guess I'm really curious first. Let me kick it over to Tyler here. What is
first?
Yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, because you have the 19 minutes delayed. Yeah, sorry. We watched the behind the scenes as well at the end of the episode. What's up, Quad AAA? We are reviewing the first episode of season 2 of The Last of Us. So, Tyler here hasn't seen the first season and he hasn't played the game.
I literally have never consumed an entire piece of content from The Last of Us. The only thing I know is, seeing little clips online and what my friends have told me that it's a great game and a great show.
Yeah.
That's it. And then it's about zombie things.
So what'd you think about, obviously you're flying pretty blind in this, but what'd you think about, we're both cinema lovers. So Brendan as well. So all right, what'd you think about?
I feel like I'm about to upset a lot of people.
I hate it.
So yeah, it's probably a perspective you'll never get. It's a horrible place for me to start. Horrible. And I say that as somebody that loves stories, movies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
To where if somebody was like, I saw the Avengers Endgame and haven't seen any of it, I would kill them. If they hadn't seen any of the other movies. Like, I never want to jump in the middle of it. But an excuse to hang out with some friends is what they were doing. So, sorry. So, all this with the context of I know really nothing about these characters' story and character development prior to the beginning of season 2.
Yep.
With that being said, I don't like Ellie. Now, again, I know that's completely unfair. And I know it doesn't make any sense for me to even be able to make that statement. Yeah. It's not a fair statement for me to be able to say.
Well, it's actually really interesting. So I guess talk to her.
Okay. So the reason I don't like her is because from the very, 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 very little bit of exposition they give in a recap of season 1, and even the little bit at the end of this episode that they are doing, I guess, with this new season is like the making of the show, episode by episode. And they were like, well, as you can tell, Joel and Ellie's relationship is really estranged now, where you see them be this like father-daughter duo.
We shouldn't, by the way.
And she's matured over since then, and now it's like they were this duo, and what happened? Because now they're estranged, and she really trusted him. And from somebody that doesn't know the nuance, so, this is going to be completely unfair. Like, well, if you just watched, yeah, you're right, absolutely. But from the little bit I know, it's like, how the hell do you go from a child who, like, is infatuated with this father figure who saved you and you trust him in everything to somebody that just, like, is a complete, I don't know how much we can cuss on this, butthole to him all of a sudden. Like, obviously there's got to be something there, so I'm not saying, like, it doesn't make sense, because I don't know, because it might make sense if I'd seen the whole first season.
Yeah.
I understand the dynamic of a teenager who, like, wants to make their own way and be their own person, but if it's an apocalypse and someone like my mom
wait
was I have to finish this thought, dude. I have to finish this thought. You can't get me going. My mom is an amazing human being and has helped me through a lot in my life. I didn't turn 19. Well, actually, I didn't turn 19 and go, I will say, you know what, to be fair, there was a year of my life that I was in high school, we were estranged. We were definitely at odds for like a year of my life. But there was a lot of context to that. That's why I'm saying maybe if I know the context as to why, it would make more sense. Right. But I don't know it.
That's
yeah. If there's context I'm missing, I need to know. But just watching this episode, which it's a sequel, you can't just watch it and form logical opinions if you don't know what happened before. So I know it's an unfair opinion. But from this, I'm like, Joel, dude. What a man. And then she's just like, I hate you.
I feel the same way, even though knowing what happened.
Which is okay. So if that's your ultimate feeling, I think we will. I think that's actually really good because I think that's how in the game.
That's how we feel. We feel the same. We know what happened.
100%. So this is actually really cool that they were still able to give you the same feeling that we experienced because that's how we felt when we were like jumping in. It was like,
yeah. Okay, here's my question. Did something happen to where that opinion changed? You have to tell me what it is.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, if you just go in going, this doesn't make any sense, you're like, well, that's good. They made it like the game. I go, no, this is their chance to actually write it better. If the game was written bad and you just don't know why.
So the game was written fantastic.
If you find out a reason why later, then it's like, okay.
The game, if you know the game, you know what the reason.
Yeah.
But you find out it's 100% the reason later on.
So the nuggets
Somebody
are.
said this is why people hate the second game.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like I'm validated. It sounds like whatever the reason is that she hates him isn't a good one. So my hope is for someone that just wants good television is that if there is a reason, if the game isn't a good reason to most people, they should change the reason. This is the opportunity to write the characters better.
Well, I can tell you, Ellie. Should we tell him now?
Yeah. All right.
Spoilers.
All right.
Wait. If anybody doesn't want this spoiled because if you haven't played the first game and you've only watched the first season, just cut ahead to a little bit because this will be revealed in the second season. But we're about
Are we going to go back to like non-spoilers?
We will go back to non-spoilers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
We're totally.
If that's still there, we're talking spoilers. Once it's gone,
we're gonna forget that. Yeah. Okay.
We're done.
No spoilers.
I'm trying to give the visual representation so they don't skip ahead, and then all of a sudden they hear. All right, forget it. Never mind.
All right, Brendan.
I'll just run through it quick. All right. So Ellie's immune, right? Only documented case ever. It's immune, and she's originally with someone named Marlene, a firefly, and she's trying
an actual firefly.
Yes, an actual.
I don't know what that means. Again, you have to tell me what a firefly is.
It's a
vigilante group trying to overthrow.
Because all I know is she's
trying to
in a relationship with a bug with a light up bug.
Start a world, so to speak, right? So she's trying to take her to the Firefly headquarters, which I think at first.
You're taking way too long. We got to give them the quick notes. So essentially, no. Let me just say. All right, Ellie's immune. The whole point of the game one is Joel is taking Ellie to deliver her somewhere so he can get a truck. They end up forming a relationship. Joel finds out that they are essentially going to sacrifice Ellie by giving her brain surgery. And in his bonding with her, he can't let that happen. And instead fights his way into where the operating room is, kills everyone, takes her home. And so Ellie, during the whole first game, her purpose was she was like, I have this thing that can save the world. Mm-hmm. We're not sure if she was aware that she was knowingly going to die, or if she was just under the impression that she would survive the surgery.
She does afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah.
She's mad at Joel. She finds out because not only did he lie to her, but because she says that her life.
What did he lie about? What did
Joel
say?
So he
said that Raiders invaded and he barely got out of there and killed the Raiders, and then they can't go back because the Raiders and all that.
Why doesn't Joel just say, "Hey, they were gonna kill you"?
Because that's not enough for Ellie.
He knows that wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah.
To do whatever it takes to save.
Yep.
Okay.
So we believe, and Quad AAA, Kilocorb, let us know. Anybody else who's in here too. The idea that we have is we think Ellie knows, and we think she knows enough and believes it, but because Joel and Ellie never actually really say it, it's all just under the radar. And so that mixed with her being 19, she's going to act out.
Yeah. That's a good enough reason. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Cool.
Yeah. So especially if you knew I don't care if it is my death. I'm here for a reason, and clearly that reason is to save everybody else. Even if it means my own death. And if she knows that, and then he took that away from her. Right. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Cool. So let's get into some things about the episode that Brendan and I were sitting next to each other. And let me tell you, through this whole episode, we were going back and forth about like, oh, is this the one where Joel's gonna die? Oh, this isn't where Joel's gonna die. Or like, oh, is this? Oh yeah, I should have.
This whole thing is spoilers.
Pretty much. This is the post show. If you're watching this, you should have watched the show.
Yeah,
So let's talk about a couple things. Eugene.
yeah, that was what they did there. It was pretty cool. In the game, if I play the game, he's just a side character that he was a Firefly with Tommy, and in the game you never see him. You see a picture of him with Tommy as a Firefly, and he has like a weed farm hidden that Ellie and Dina do some acts while smoking weed, but we'll see if that's in the show.
Well, they already have weed with him in the.
Yeah, but he dies of a heart attack. In the show, it's apparently Joel killed him, which is very interesting change.
So you didn't know that before this?
It was not a thing.
He dies of a heart attack.
So how do we know? Did we see it in the first season? We just don't know it.
What happened is in the game, Eugene dies of a heart attack.
Yeah,
and
he's not even in the game physically.
No, I know, but I'm saying, do you think that you watched him kill Eugene in the first season? We just don't know. You just don't know who it was.
It could be actually.
Like, was he one of the people operating on her surgery? Or
In the post show, they specifically addressed that Eugene, even in the first season, was always a present. So we never saw Eugene in the first season.
Maybe they'll go back and show you like, oh, this guy that Joe killed actually was Eugene.
They might do that. They're doing a lot of liberties with inserting things in character development of the show. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting because in the game Eugene is more of this kind of we looked up to figure, right? With Ellie and Dina, they're all like, Eugene,
he's better in present. Teaches them.
Yeah.
And gives them weed.
Well, they find his stash.
Yeah, but you met Dina in the game, so she smoked.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. When they get to the tower in the first post, So that was really interesting. I thought that.
Oh, Ellie's here. Oh no.
No, that's Eli. What's Eli? One thing that I thought was interesting. I'm surprised they're gonna definitely talk about it in the podcast. But I don't know if you guys caught this, but when Joel was with Eugene's wife,
here's
Gail, yeah, there was a moment when he is he's trying to get it out. You can see he's trying to say it, but then the expression washes over him, and he looks at the other actress, and he gets up, and she flinches. Did you guys catch that?
I think he's like, I think it's like everyone knows who Joel is. He's a guy that's not supposed to be messed with. Even she knows that.
Yeah.
She knows like, oh, I might have overstepped a little here. This is Joel Miller we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's why she didn't even say anything when she goes away. You know, like she's drunk and she still knows, hey, I'm not gonna say anything else.
That was I wonder what Craig's gonna say about that in the podcast, because he mentioned something like that in the first season, or it was the Chernobyl podcast, but that was like a reaction. Like as an actor that we all are, I'm sure of it that flinch was a reaction. Guy on the left, you good? Oh yeah, this is Tyler. He hasn't seen the season 1, and he didn't play the game.
I truly went into this blind. This is the first full piece of content of Last of Us I've seen. I mean, I've heard from plenty of friends it's good, it's amazing, the show, the game, and I've seen people clips of people playing it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Joe Miller or Arthur Morgan. Oh.
I will say my favorite scene of the entire episode was the scene with the therapist. That was my favorite scene of the entire show.
What about it?
It's gonna get a little bit into my own personal life, actually. I love therapy. I've been to it myself. But a huge gripe I have with therapy, especially in today's day and age, is a lot of therapists will. What word did he use? Not affirm. Was it affirm?
Validate.
Validate. Yeah. A lot of therapists think their job is to validate their clients, and I hate it. It's like, no. I'm going to a therapist to become a better person and overcome my obstacles.
Tell me
Don't
what's going on.
Right. Don't tell me that like, oh, you're feeling lazy and stuff. Well, that's okay. You've been, you deserve it because you got this and this going on. It's like, no. I want to be a better person who can learn how to be more productive or more this or more that. And I have these traumas that are bothering me. Don't validate how I'm acting in response to that. Help me overcome it, even if it means telling me you're being a piece of garbage. It's like, that's what I need in my life, is someone to hold me accountable. That's why I would pay for therapy, is like to be like, these are the truths, these are my shortcomings, and I need you to call me out and say those are your shortcomings, and this is what this is how maybe we can help you overcome it. Not say it's okay. And I know so many therapists that do that nowadays. So to see a scene where she was like, yeah, my job is to validate you, and I was like, no, it's not. So I disagreed with her there, but then she's like, but you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, now you're becoming a real help to this person. That's what you should have done all along. And so I loved it. And then you see the actual emotions of like him being like, why are you calling me out? Because he's used to the standard therapy where you're just validated. And then he's like angry with her. And then she's like, let me get all this off my chest so you really see what's up. And then she's like, your turn. And he's like, and then you see him slowly start breaking down and tearing up, and then you see the change in emotion. He stands up, and then like it switches. It's like so deep that he's like, "Oh my god, that is what I needed. Like I did need you to call me out like that, but he can't handle it. He had to walk out. Like it was very deep."
What was really interesting is she was using herself as a way to break the barrier. That she's like, hey, I'll go through this wall first.
Yeah.
I'll show you what it's like to say this thing out loud and how I feel afterwards. And hopefully you see how it affects me, that then you'll feel comfortable doing it yourself.
And it almost gives him more permission to do that because what she is mad about is targeted at him.
Right.
She's like, so it's almost like, if you're mad at me for that or whatever, or you might feel bad because, yeah, I did kill your husband, whatever. But it's like, I'm giving you more fuel to talk now.
Right.
Because it's like, this is all on you.
Right.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene.
Cool. Well, so that was Eugene. That was something that was different. One of the obvious things is a bear was replaced for a moose.
They changed it from a moose to a bear.
When they get to the market, and they have to fight the clickers and whatnot, a bear, like in the game it was a moose, and in the show it's a
Just
bear.
A subtle detail that you and I noticed. It's like, yo, why'd they change that? I mean,
Right.
I think I don't know, because mooses don't be. I don't know. I feel like because most people view as a bear this thing, but honestly, a moose is harder to take down than a bear. But I mean,
I guess it gives the same.
It's necessarily harder,
but something that leads into that is interesting that in the show, stalkers are a new thing, whereas in the game, they were in the first game already. They already knew about them, and they're like they're a stage of infected. So it's infected, stalkers, clickers, bloaters.
Did we confirm this?
What?
Did we confirm clickers or stalkers were in the first game?
Yeah, I already knew that, dude. I've played the first game like 30 times.
Okay,
I know that they're in it, and plus there's like paper that says the stage is infected by those people, and then of course there's another infected that we'll see if is in this. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. But I found it interesting that they're introducing them as something new, and so I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
You know, they're introducing a whole new. So
I feel like for a video game, you need a lot of exposition up front because majority of what the fun.
Thanks, Eli. Appreciate you.
I feel like a normal part of a video game that is the most engaging is you playing it yourself.
Yeah.
Sure, if you have a really good video game with a good story, some of the cutscenes can make you emotional. Cool. But a video game is about interacting yourself with whatever controller or keyboard or whatever. So they can just dump exposition, tell you the different stages of infected, and then when you run into, you're like, oh god, then you got to fight him. But like, I think it was smart from someone who has, again, no connection, to hold off on the stalkers because the engagement is not physical. You're not playing. The engagement has to be the story. So you have to be more concerned about how do we keep the story engaging, and by holding them off and making them say like a more evolved state, which they are, but it took them more time to evolve, and you're seeing that now.
Yeah.
Gets you, at least for me, it would get me more engaged in the story of it because it's really the story of the enemy, which is the infected, is progressing. It's not
Yeah.
just they're fighting the same thing, you know.
That's
Well-
that's interesting because, like I said, in the game, it's stages infected. You start out as infected, and then your next process of the infection is stalker,
Right.
then clicker, then bloater. But apparently, this is new. But bloaters already exist. So that means that there is no stages infected.
It's just an evolve. It's not really a
They
stage.
just
It's an
change randomly.
evolve.
They just change. You either
It's
become a
evolving.
bloater, you become a clicker. Afterwards, you become a stalker.
Right.
So that's a big change. That's a big change. That I mean, I'm not against. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, I think you and I, when we saw the stalker, we were like, okay, when there's one, there's many.
Yeah, there's only one in the show.
Right, which was really interesting because I don't know how I don't know how I feel about them showing stalkers this early in the episode, as well as just one, because it goes against what we experienced in the game.
Yeah, you see a stalker, it's like there's like 10 more hiding corners. I got to be careful.
Right, where it's like this, there's just one. Well, I think the infection chart goes runner,
Yeah,
stalker,
runner, stalker,
question.
clicker, Shambler. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
But
cool.
Shamblers, we don't even know if they're going to be in this season. That's the infected I said, hey, I didn't want to spoil it. If
I
they
bet
are.
they will. Was it Bloater was
Bloater's in the first.
yeah the sniper tower,
Oh yeah, the
right?
Rat
At the
King.
end of this,
I
in
hope
the
I hope the
making,
Rat King's in it. It'd be pretty cool.
in the making of section, one of the guys, whoever that was working on, I don't know if it was director or whatever, but said if we thought it was important to show that this virus or the infector is evolving. So it's not just a stage of infection. Clearly, you don't get infected and turn into the next thing. It's now the people that are getting infected, some of them are now just becoming straight up stalkers because the virus itself is evolving
Yeah.
for survival, just like any other bacteria and or virus would. Just like we saw 500 different evolutions of the coronavirus, because once one was,
Well,
fended
it's-
off or whatever, it couldn't survive. It had to evolve to survive, just like these guys have to evolve to survive.
This is the interesting part, though, is because it's a fungus.
Yeah, it's supposed to grow over time, which
So-
is how it takes over their brain and their face.
So the what we did see a parallel when we watched the episode where the infected takes what's the girl's name Joel's with
Marlene.
Marlene,
First season,
yes.
Yeah.
when it opened its mouth and kind of let the things kind of go in.
Tendrils.
Yeah, we did see the stalker.
Yeah, that because I think
That was the tendrils were coming out of the stalker's nose in this episode, which was really you were like that was disturbing.
Yeah, it was cool.
So in essence, there is the same fungus. It is still a cordyceps. It just must mean that when it infects people, they respond to it differently. It might be how they're trying
Right.
to do with the show.
I'm not saying it's not the same fungus, but I'm saying just like again, COVID had
Well-
so many different variants, but they were evolved versions of each variant. It was still COVID, but it was a different strain of COVID because it evolves over time to survive.
That's virology, just like the flu.
Right, and I know this
Yeah.
is a fungus and not whatever, but they use the term evolve, so maybe that's a fault on the makers of the thing, but whatever. Suspend the disbelief that it's a fungus instead of a viral bacteria or whatever. It still works.
Yeah.
I still think it works enough to keep the story interesting since, like I said, you have to evolve the storyline since you have less interactivity with it.
I think
Right,
they're going
right.
for a more.
the
They're
quarter-
obviously going for a different approach, but I think they're trying to. The game is realistic, but I think they're going for even a further step towards realism with the show.
Right. Yeah, Eli, cordyceps are real. That's a real thing. Well, to bring it all back real quick to Eli's thing, I loved in episode 1 of season 1. I loved how they had that talk show moment, which you haven't seen. It's one of the best openers.
Oh yeah, the cold open pretty much.
The cold open, where it was a talk show decades and decades before the breakout event. I loved how they set that up because Eli, because honestly, in the game, it took a long time for me to even realize that it was fungus. I don't know why, but for
newspaper the very start tells you.
was it?
Yeah, on the toilet.
Oh well, I didn't read the
The bathroom.
notes. Yeah. So we had Eugene, we had the stalker, we had the bear switched out for the moose.
Oh yeah, big change, big change.
Yeah.
I will say that I like how accurate the set pieces are. Like the market was like a one-on-one recreation of the market in the game.
Oh yeah,
If you look in the background, there's a bakery in the game. I was like, that's exactly where I run around circles while killing all the zombies.
Same, dude.
Yeah. Oh well, what when we saw the market on the couch, Brendan and I were sitting next to each other. We saw the employee of the month.
Oh yeah, in the game, the safe, the code, everything's the same. Even it's like the bestest boy is the code of the safe.
Yep.
In the month of July, it's the exact same in that, and that's one of those callbacks that I love. They do for the people that have played the games. It's like, and then even workbenches, like a little farther in, Ellie's working on her guns. It's an exact recreation
Of the workbench. Yes.
It's stuff like that is highlights for me.
Yeah, those are those small Easter eggs that Neil Druckmann, the creator with Naughty Dog, and Craig Mazin, they had to figure that out because the number one fans are the people that have played the game. So yeah, I loved Employee of the Month. That was fantastic.
Really good.
And she fell through the ceiling just like in the game.
It changed it up a little. Usually Dina's right beside her, goes down.
Yep.
This time Dina goes look for some stairs.
Yeah, that was different.
So,
Dina's like, I'm not gonna jump down there.
yeah.
But in the game, I think they fell together.
Yeah.
Right. Which is funny. That market scene was when we have this on my YouTube. Is when
behind you?
Yeah, that's when Tyler snuck up behind me and scared the bejeebas out of me. Eli, he said, "Bro, y'all making it sound so good. It is good, Eli. Have you seen the show?"
Get with the time.
So, something I will say is it seems like this show,
or the game, Eli,
according to the response from season 1 and what you guys are talking about the second season, that there are some liberties taken, but it's still so true enough to the core of the characters in the game that it's not like upsetting people necessarily. It's like, oh, interesting take, but you're still going along the same journey and keeping true to the characters enough to where it's not like pissing the fans off.
Yeah.
Because
so many things.
Let me
do
tell
that.
you some video game. This sounds like to me again. It sounds like from what I've heard from reviews from other people that it may be one of the best video game to on-screen adaptations of all time.
Yeah.
And something that's very much not is the Minecraft movie that I just saw is disgraceful. It is from someone that Minecraft is their favorite video game of all time. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And the reason I'm bringing this up too is because you were saying some of the things that were a good nod to the people that are actually fans of this show. The employee of the month board that is the same, and that whole safe thing, and her falling through, and then the market looking exactly looking exactly the same, and all that stuff. What I appreciate about this compared to things that try to adapt from video games, such as the Minecraft movie, is that didn't bother me watching the show at all. And what I mean by bother me is I didn't have to play the game to know that the market looked the same and for that to matter, or that her doing her gun on her workbench. It wasn't like I didn't understand if I didn't watch the show. It just head into the story perfectly fine. And they didn't hold up the gun to the employee of the month board to the camera and go, this is the employee of the month board from the game. Whereas Minecraft is like, this is the nether from, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Chicken jockey.
Dude, it's so bad.
All right, so we're not going to get into the Minecraft movie, but
I'm praising it with an example of a game that was throwing references in your face that if you didn't play the game, you would have no idea, not know why it's important. You're like, why are you basically pointing out that this thing exists? It's like, I guess it exists. Why does it matter? And this is like, you can do both. You can have good fan servicey moments that also don't distract people who either haven't seen it or don't make it so cringeworthy that it takes away from the story, even for the fans.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Tyler likes to get fired up.
See, now that was my point. Give people the comments about Minecraft. I liked it. I watched it because it was so stupid. It was funny. I also went with my friends just to crap on the movie.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Like, I think for fans of the video game, it is so. Well, so Craig talks about it in his podcast from the previous season that they did need to take some creative liberties because in the game, he talks about specifically in the game you need to teach the player how to crouch, how to run, how to fight, And in the TV show, we don't need to do that.
And combat too.
Right.
You have to fight 20 raiders, 20
Right.
infected at once.
In the TV show, we don't need to do that. What we need to do is develop the characters for the audience to latch onto. And I think part of this first episode is we get this older Joel who's a bit softer. We know he's taken therapy, so it's like really cool to see how his speech pattern changes and how he like recognizes certain situations. But then we also see a softness towards other people. Like when Dina gets introduced, he calls her kiddo. Like that is something that season 1 Joel wouldn't necessarily say because he wasn't like softened yet by his relationship with Ellie.
Did he say kiddo in season 1? I'm pretty sure he did in the last episode.
As like a term of endearment to Ellie, but it took him a long.
Just in general with people.
Exactly, he's much softer with a lot of other people he just interacted.
Just wondering what happened to him. But anyway, right?
Hopefully that's not why. The scene when Ellie and Tommy were sniping on the mountain. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. Because that scene in the game happens like in Seattle, day 2 or 3. So later on.
Yep.
And it's just a flashback scene. And this, it's current, which is cool. So it's cool that they're not necessarily doing stuff in chronological order. They're making it different in the show. So stuff that happens in the game later on, they're making it happen current times
with flashbacks and stuff.
Like a perfect example is that whole end scene with Ellie dancing with Dina. You don't see that until towards the end of the game,
right?
But story wise, it happens like it should. And the show, it happens in the exact timeline. They just don't show it that it happened until the end. So they're still doing it right. They're just not doing it like the game.
Which I think it's actually really cool because in the game it was at that point to give you that emotional impact. Where here the emotional impact was it was properly, we should do it now because this is when the emotion's going to hit the audience hardest. Yeah. Yeah. That it is really cool what they've done with this first episode. I lost the bet.
Oh yeah.
Joel did not die in the first episode.
Thank God.
Which, okay, I'm gonna go on a gripe here comparing season 1, season 2. I was really bummed that they blasted through game 1 in just one season of The Last of Us.
Well, it's because the game's short, man. I told you it's like 7 hours to beat. This part 2 takes like 20 hours.
That's what you said. I still felt like a much longer time for me. So we'll see how they play episode or season 2. You think?
Or are you happier that they're taking a longer time on this season? Or
yeah, because that was the big.
You felt
problem.
it was too slow, or you felt the first season was too rushed?
I feel conflicted because I wish they would have done a bit slower of a time with season 1. And I was also going into this expecting Joel to die at the end of episode 1 of season 2 based on the pacing from season 1. So I'm conflicted. I'm happy we get to live with Joel a little bit more.
He's definitely dying.
You think? Did you see episode 2?
He's definitely. I mean, they're setting it up different how he is, but end of the episode, he's definitely getting the golf club.
For somebody that knows nothing about the first season or the games, I think that is a personal, very biased, right? Because you have played the games and you compared how the game timeline and how quickly they did that based on the first season of the show. Whereas somebody who hasn't played any of the games, seen any of them, it was perfectly fine paced. Like I was interested, I was into it. I feel like any quicker would have been bad.
Sure.
Because I feel like we got to see what was happening in this new setup of where they're living now 5 years later. Like, yeah, I think you were just going in with an expectation, but that doesn't mean the expectation would have been better than what you got. From my opinion,
too,
I think it was perfectly paced.
Well, it didn't take me 7 hours to beat game 1.
That's how long it takes, man.
Oh my god.
Be a gamer, all right? Grow up.
What did you say, Eli?
I prolonged Joe and Abby's golf trip. Me too, man. Me too. I was like prolonging as long as possible. But
The first game was fast, but there were memorable moments. So, like, for me, I lived in the first game for a while. Like, I explored. I took a long time. I found all the clues.
that's what you should have done part 2, all right? Got way more stuff to explore.
I did do that in part 2 as well. There was moments where we were on the couch. We were like
right here, this couch.
on this couch. Because we've played the game. Brendan and I were like, oh, is this the market scene? So wait, crap, is this going to be the episode?
Yeah, that's one of the parts where like taking out of place because as anyone's played the game, market leads to a blizzard, which leads to Dina and Ellie having some interactions.
Well, the dance leads to the patrol, which leads to the market, which leads to the blizzard.
Mm-hmm. So
it's all out of order, right?
And then
it's a bit out of order.
In the game, you start playing as Abby, the blizzard, and
well, it also might not be because that's what you were saying is they might just be messing with us because they might just be familiarizing
they're
us.
definitely just messing. They're knowing the hardcore is like, oh my god, it's happening. And it's like, oh wait,
right,
this isn't happening. Oh, okay.
They might just be familiarizing the audience with the environment because we might revisit this in the next episode when they do go on the proper patrol. They might not have the same. They might not go into the market, but I'm guessing they might have a certain plot line that they want to try and get through on that episode where they're just like, hey, this is the blizzard, this is the marketplace. They might go in, they might not. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can't get what you're saying. I've never watched
right.
Game.
Wait, so Eli said, so how is it paced? Does it start with how the second game starts?
Second game starts with Joel, telling Tommy what he did.
Oh, yeah.
And then pops up to Ellie waking up. This started with Ellie fighting the dude in the barn.
Right.
Choking him out with her legs.
Right. Okay, so that is interesting. How do you feel about...
I wish they would have had that scene start. I love that scene. The fact you get to play as Joel one last time on the horse.
Yeah.
I love that, and I like how it shows that Joe did tell someone. Because you obviously know that Tommy told... he told Tommy because he knows the infected. Did he tell him everything? We don't know that yet.
Well, maybe he hasn't told Tommy yet. Maybe it's going to be the opening of episode 2.
I want to see that. That was one of my...
Where he's finally got pushed by his therapist to tell somebody, and the only one he feels close enough to is Tommy.
I hope he does. That scene is one of my favorite of both games. And showing flashbacks to him doing it as well. I love that. And I feel like if they don't show it, then it's a humongous missed opportunity.
They have a high chance of doing it because
done everything else out of order so far.
Well,
they have to do it sometime. That's all I'm saying.
Well, because the second game, once we get past, once we get into it, it is supposed to have already been after the dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Ellie wakes up and she's like, what's his name? What's the Asian guy's name? I always forget his name.
I don't know.
I gotta look it up.
Or they're gonna do that scene you're talking about where he tells Tommy on horseback as a flashback later. Maybe Ellie will have a moment with Tommy and she's all upset, and then he mentions to her a conversation they had, and then they flash back to that conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Eli.
Jesse, thank you. Yes, he knocks her door hey, we got patrol, get up, and it's what happened last night? It shows him talking with her.
Right.
So I think maybe next episode we'll see that happen, and then we'll see the actual. I don't know because they're doing it different because the horde's attacking. So next episode is going to be completely different. But there's a horde, but they're on patrol. It looks like this time maybe they'll be on patrol. Maybe they go on patrol. The horde attacks. Joel goes out looking for Ellie. Everything happens.
We're also going into it with the idea that they might finish this in one season.
Yeah.
So there is the possibility. You mentioned that they got renewed for season 3.
Mm-hmm.
There is a possibility that they're going to take their time with game 2 in season 2. Because there are a lot of heavy moments that hit in this second game. So this will be interesting.
What are the odds Joel just doesn't die?
I love that, but I gotta say I've seen nothing of him in anything other than in Jackson.
Right.
Previews, so,
right.
He's definitely times coming next
Yeah,
episode.
it's interesting. My neighbor, he I couldn't give this away because he didn't play the game, but he was making some remarks about Pedro Pascal and he might be if he's not in season 2, it's just because he's too good for the money they're offering. And I was like, dude, you just don't know what's gonna happen. And like I couldn't tell him, but I was like, no, that's wrong.
You're wrong. Shut up.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're gonna kill him off just because they can't afford him. It's like that's actually what happened now.
Yeah, HBO shows that Bill someone off. Can't afford them.
Right.
Totally.
No, but this is 100% off topic, but Bill should have lived in the show. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's about Ellie and Joel. He would ruin it. He was just chilling with them.
Right. What else? What are we missing? What are we missing from episode 1? The dance. The dance was good.
That was pretty much spot on recreation game.
Yeah. That was fantastic. I liked even in the post credits. Which, by the way, if anybody's watching this, if you didn't stay tuned after the credits, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann and a couple of the actors talk about the episode. So go back and watch that. But what was really cool is in the post credits reflection, they talk about like while they were filming it, they wanted to set it up and make it feel beautiful because it was such a moment in the game. The music played, the emotions were felt, and it's really a catalyst for why Ellie and Dina um, care for each other throughout the entire game. There are some conflicts on there too, but you felt it was pretty true to the game, yeah?
Everything was the exact same as the game. Even every line. It was word for word exactly. The only difference is I think Ellie drops an F bomb. I don't think when she tells Joel, I didn't need your. Did she say? I don't know. I don't remember, but I don't think so. And I think they added that just to really add impact.
Sure.
And I think to make you kind of dislike Ellie in a way. I think to make you be like, yo, why are you doing this to Joel?
Which is probably how you felt. Yeah, because I saw when Ellie said that, I saw Tyler have a reaction to her at that moment. Tell us what you were feeling there. Well, pretty much what you already said.
I've already said.
Hey,
But I don't have
The background.
Yeah, it's like you can't just go into you can't go into any situation in life. Like if I walked in a room and someone was yelling at you, or not even if I walked in a room with two random people and one person was yelling at one and that person getting yelled at was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna feel bad for that person.
Yeah.
But if I don't know the context, maybe that person that's sitting there whimpering, being like, I'm sorry, like killed that person's dog. Like who knows? Like I don't know. Then I'd be like, yeah, you suck. So it's like, yeah, I didn't like her in the moment, but I don't know. I didn't know if it was justified. So.
Sure. Okay. Got it. Yeah, it was interesting. It was still very impactful. Very impactful.
Yeah, I think they might have added that just to get a general audience to be like emotion, like, how'd you do that?
Yeah. Because for anybody who hasn't played the game, they're not.
Because in the game, remember that scene happens later. You already sit back and go the entire time in the game. You spent a whole game, flashbacks, everything.
Yeah.
And this, you gotta get it now.
Well, okay, so is it? I guess it's if you pay attention in the very beginning of the episode, you might have an inkling as to why Ellie's acting that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the very beginning, Joel, swear to me that nothing, blah blah blah, right?
Right, because in the end commentary, the director or whatever was like, "This is all stemming from the lie that he told her." They showed that at the beginning of the episode, which was him saying, "Yeah, I swear."
Right.
It clearly was a lie. I don't know that's a lie because I didn't see the first season.
I see.
So I had no idea.
That makes me remember something. Because in the game, remember at the flashback scene, Ellie goes back to the hospital 2 years ago, it says, and discovers Joel's lie, right? So is that the same in the show? Or
when did they do this in the game?
In the game, on Ellie's day 3 of Seattle, it reveals that Ellie went back to Salt Lake City, the Firefly Hospital, finds the recorder that Marlene made, remember?
Oh,
said,
that's
we're gonna have to kill her to do it.
Right.
And then it shows replaying it, Joel on the horse, and she's like, tell me exactly what happened here. And he says, I saved you. And then He
Right.
killed them all that. So that's my question: is did that already happen like it did in the game, or does Ellie still not know and is just knows he's lying?
Well, I'm guessing if they had that conversation.
Okay.
If they had that conversation like they did in the game, then it still kind of plays true because what did he say? She's 19.
Yeah. So if it's right in like the game, then she are for 2 years now she's known that what Joel did.
Right. So for Joel to feel how he felt, it makes sense. He just must not be as, what's the word? When you're young, everything feels so big. All right, quad AAA. I think in the trailers that scene is going to happen. Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, when you're young, everything feels so big. Your emotions are big. Your reactions and things are big. So Joel might be able to want to move on because he's lived a life. Whereas Ellie, this is so big. She was
Not supposed to be alive.
right. She has to grapple with this.
I don't think it necessarily. I see what you're saying. Things do feel bigger and such a big deal when you're younger, but this just is a big deal. I don't think the age actually has a factor in this at all. Because she felt like she could save the world, and he cost her that. So I don't think it has to do with the age. I think it's a valid reason for her to be upset. But it is interesting going back to the therapist scene. I just kind of put two and two together because again I haven't seen the last season.
Yeah.
But when she's like, "Tell me what you want to say. Doesn't matter how bad it is," and he does actually tell me because I didn't know what he meant by he said I saved her. I was like, what does it have to do with it? It has nothing to do with it. But I get it. It's like, oh no, he did tell her because the whole that is what he messed up. That is the thing that is causing her pain.
Yes.
Is that he saved her when
Yes.
she didn't want to be saved
Yes.
because she wanted to save others. So he did tell her what the problem was without going in detail, so she didn't really know.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I saved her. That's the problem. That's why she's mad.
Yeah.
But what he just leaving out all of the details of what it means to save her.
Right.
I mean, he killed everybody else and took away her opportunity to maybe save other people.
Just the big problem with them is it's just they don't understand each other. She'll never understand what Joel went through,
right,
and why he did what he did. He did what he did because he lost his daughter. He found a new one, right?
Yeah.
He has the same love he had for his daughter Sarah as for Ellie.
He couldn't save his first daughter.
He couldn't save her, and he's not going to make that same mistake again. And Ellie will never understand that feeling. Right. Joel will never understand the feeling that Ellie didn't get to save the world.
Yeah.
So it's two people that just don't understand each other and why they did what they did.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
genius.
This is why the game is so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many intricacies woven in. I remember when I first played it, I did not expect to care so much, and by the end, it was by far my favorite game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool.
Well, gang, thank you so much. Oh, one last
Why
thing.
don't we each say what our favorite scene was about the favorite part of the episode?
I already did. So next.
Tyler. Yep. Tyler.
I went on a whole rant over why I like the therapist scene.
I'll go next. I want to say this.
Yeah.
By far, my favorite part of the show was how they're doing some relationship with Joel and Dina. That was by far my favorite because they're two people that we never even saw interact in the game, and I think Joel kind of having another sort of father-daughter relationship of some sort with her is very interesting, and I think it's going to play a huge part down the road of what Ellie feels about Joel and Dina, and I hope that they continue to expand upon that.
Okay.
I love that.
Awesome. My favorite part was the giraffes. No, genuinely. Here's why. Because they were already in the city, and that was like their last beautiful moment together in the game before everything went sideways. And to see the giraffes be there after the horrible moment, and then the wolves burying their people, I was like, wow, what a really interesting flop of what the giraffes essentially bookend for the event. I thought that was just a really interesting choice.
Still hate Abby.
Yeah, we all hate Abby.
I don't hate Abby yet.
You,
I don't. I really like Joel, but all I know is he brutally murdered a bunch of people she loves, and I'm like, I feel her emotion, but I know nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Killed his dad.
What?
Killed his dad.
Yeah. So wouldn't you be pissed? You're only mad at her because you have a close emotional connection to Joel, but you do.
I
what
didn't
she
like
would
her
do.
dad, so I didn't like her dad either.
But you would be just as upset as she was.
Well, so we had this whole topic of like, especially if you played the game, you can understand, but in the game they didn't really do a good job of making you like Abby
or anyone associated with her.
Right, right. Killa, I streamed it on Discord. Yeah, I had a Discord event. But with that, gang, thank you everyone who was live with us here during this post show. Put your legs down.
Not that type of stream.
Oh god, not that type of stream. We may do another one for the next episode? Question mark. We'll see. TBD. But anybody in the future, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed your time hearing what we had to say. And until next time, guys, have a good night. Take care.
I'm gonna go eat some donuts.
Tyler, Kevin, Brendan, out.